We do believe that like ideas and design, creativity, standing out on the show floor, it does win. It does. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you here. You will get the semi best of me today. I'm on like day 3 or 4 of the flu, right? Cody's going to have to pick up the slack. If I'm coughing in your ear, just feel fortunate I'm not coughing in your face, right? I'm not with you, so you won't get the flu. But bear with me today. I'd appreciate it. But glad to have everybody here today. Fun topic. This is on the back of a couple of the previous episodes that we've done where Cody and I are talking about the process, the blueprint of designing trade show booths and getting to the show floor. Where we've kind of gotten to now was we were like, hey, let's talk a little bit about some projects that we've done. Let's show some examples. This idea that we talk about where like we do believe that like ideas and design, creativity, standing out on the show floor, it does win. It does, even if there's not a ton of strategy behind it. Although I prefer when there's strategy, intentionality, and thought behind it. But so we thought today, why not show you some concepts that we've done, right? And, break them down for you. Hopefully they are either inspirational or you can gain an idea from it, or understanding how we came to that idea, or just finding another way to leverage it, learn from it, ask a question about it, anything. As always, feel free to ask questions. Cody will pull up a deck in a little bit, and then, we'll just run, I think, to recap a little bit of our discussions that we've had previously, is we talked about what needs to happen before you get to design, and some key pieces. Stakeholder alignment, huge. And I understand that's incredibly difficult for some of you. We get it. And we are trying to bring more resources. We actually have a super exciting podcast coming up in the near future where we have on a CMO from a very large company who deals with all the same problems that a lot of you deal with, matrix organizations, large organizations. That CMO is really in the process of talking to us and working with us on how events fold into their go-to-market. And I think hearing from him at that level would be awesome. So that show's coming up. We talk about the who, right? Who are we trying to get in front of? Having clarity, the understanding of it, super important. Second, why? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? Don't tell me you're doing it for leads, right? Because I'm going to ask you what type of leads, right? Keep going down that path. We want more detail, more depth to it. How do we plan to engage, track, and convert, I think, is a big one. You should be viewing these trade shows and events as how do we convert people? That's either, when I'm talking conversion, I mean from somebody that is just knows of you into a lead, from a lead into pipeline, from pipeline to accelerating their deal to a partnership, right? You're looking to move them through your journey and utilizing your events to do that. The what, right? Metrics that you're going to consider. You don't need 10. Let's start with 1 or 2 that are really important to you. And of course, budget, right? So as we run through this today, I want to move through this quickly so we can get to show you examples and talk about them and take questions on them and all that good stuff. We kind of broke this out into a couple different areas. The first area we broke out was demo areas and product showcases. We kind of coupled and married them together. So we'll show you examples that we think fit the bill. Next one's more meeting areas. The third, I believe, is digital displays.
And lighting.
Digital displays and lighting. Thank you, Cody. The fourth is themes. The fifth is engagements. So we'll kind of walk you through that. Q&A is at the bottom. Ask away, fire away. But again, this is piggybacking on what we talked about. Blueprint for design. First show, we broke out process. Second show, we showed some examples. We dialed into engagement pieces, conversion pieces, right? Now, this time, we're going to talk a little bit about design, some of the functionality needs that need to be met, being creative around those areas, and really what we would consider designs for us and our clients that have won for them on the show floor and produced good results. We're not going to go into any of the results, any of those pieces. We did a little bit of that in the last show when we talked about engagements and what those produced. But for this, we're going to kind of strict solely to design and these areas through our process that help us create. Cody, I'll let you kick it up. I'll let you get start going. And again, just Q&A. Fire away, put it out there if you need it. And the chat is yours, right? Utilize the chat.
Yeah, we want you guys to consider these as inspiration, right? We're always looking for, I always say, a thread to to pull from to be able to execute a design for yourself for any events that you have coming up. And it really breaks down to different functionalities, right? So when you're doing the work of figuring out the who, why, what, how, ahead of time, you can really determine what does that flow look like and what are the core components or functionalities that we really need in our booth. So we wanted to start off with demo areas and product showcases. And we're really just going to kind of talk through these. Clever Device is one of our favorites. This one is really focused on demo areas. So you're going to see here, it's a very engaging booth. It's very tied into their brand. But
Yeah.
each of these demo areas are separated from each other, right? So they can have quiet conversations, but you have a lot of opportunities for conversations. They have the TV, they have the devices mounted below, plus some cabinetry, and it really just offers different conversation areas along the way. So you can see and feel and touch the
Cody, I think a unique challenge here was the size of the space. Again, needing room between the demo areas. But I think one of the main thing was, look, sometimes you have a lot of people need demo areas, but there's different ways, and we'll show a couple different examples here. But I think for this one, it was they wanted a creative looking space that represented their brand and then tied in the demos, not the other way around. A lot of people try to fit the demos into something. And I think this was just done really well. This booth really stood out on the show floor. I think the pictures came out beautiful. The demo spaces worked very well for them. And overall, just a good example of utilizing the flow and the feel of their brand. I even like tying in the way the flooring was done into everything that goes on here with these demo bands. So,
Yeah, it's not your standard square space either. They really utilize
nope.
space on a diagonal. Even the meticulous details of the lighting, right? The lighting
Yeah.
across the upper bands and the lighting underneath
Yeah,
the
that was
cabinetry was really impactful.
it captures in the picture here, but really that lighting on those long stretches, it's just a simple LED puck light. There's nothing crazy about it, but essentially really gave a nice vibe as you look down. There was underlighting on the cabinetry, honestly, very basic stuff, but emphasized the demo stands, created a flow and a vibe and like a feel to the demo stands, which I think elevated the entire experience for their customers. So
Absolutely. Now, I do also want to mention as we're going through these, we are showing a variety of sizes of booths, but
yes.
understand that there are certain elements in a large booth like this that you can absolutely take and use as inspiration for a smaller
Yeah.
space.
Yep.
This one I love. I don't know. I can't see the attendee list right now. I don't know if Sydney and Williams AV team is on the chat, but I love talking about this booth.
This one
This
was sneaky
one
with the cabinets. Yeah.
is very sneaky. So
Yeah.
when you look at it, and Karen, feel free to chime in too. I know you're listening in, but what's really great about this, they're wanting something that is not only functional, but just looks good and streamlined. And instead of just having some signs and like basic demo areas that's showcasing all of their equipment with all the wiring and such, these cabinets look like just, basic shelving or basic tables, but actually underneath are hidden areas where all of their product demos are wired in. So it looks like there's a little underlighting there. You'll see under each one of these tables, it flips out and inside was all of their equipment. So the booth was so functional for the sales team to be able to stand there, talk through their products, demo it, all the while being able to flip it and close it up so that it still brings a really streamlined
Cody, it was
look.
like a pull down. Like if I remember from what we talked about, a
I
lot of this
should have
was
included the
essentially,
pictures of when they built
yeah,
it,
they
but it's
didn't,
just like a
yeah, it looks really
little like
cool.
pop down door. Yep. It's
Yeah.
like
And it's
totally
big
hidden.
enough to fit all the equipment. And I think a good point to note on something like this, right, is compared to the last one, right? Obviously, in terms of like layout, size, creativity, it is a lesser exhibit to a degree. But
Yep.
essentially, not all booths have to be 50 by 50 creative. I always mention, booths that are in Exhibitor Magazine and Event Marketer. They show you the great old grand stuff. But a lot of people exhibit at this size with similar budgets. They have certain limitations, but they still need to perform. And I think what's really important about a booth like this is they were adamant about the way that they sold at these product stations and the product and the way that they got to them and the way that they pulled it out and the way that it was displayed. It was very important to their brand. And I think getting creative around those elements really matters when you're in a space, and it has to be a part of your conversations once you've established all the front end things that we talked about. And this one's a good example.
Absolutely. And I do have to commend the team, right? The team, the Williams AV team, they are really well prepared when they come to these events, come to planning these events, what they want, what they're hoping to accomplish. And a lot of their team is very much aligned, sales, marketing, events. And it's great to see it all come together and be well executed. I know this is one of your favorites.
Yeah, KLS Martin. So medical device company, I believe the best way they describe themselves is they are like the, what do they say? They're like the Home Depot for the head of surgeries, like all the surgeries that go on and up in your skull area. Anyway, they needed multiple stations. I believe this has 6 of these kiosks in here, these product demo kiosks. So these are like, so
They're over here
X,
and over here.
yep. Yeah, so backside of this front kiosk that you're looking at has a display cabinet where they put everything out. This picture actually, I would say, has a little bit too much stuff on top. It was because when they were first just getting ready and getting set up, but they wanted a sleek, modern looking, they're a German company, very clean, minimalistic style booth. But what we ended up doing was we had to build these custom product stands where they wanted that look and feel of like a professional glass conference table top. But then we had to pretty much have a cutout underneath, and they didn't want a cabinet. They wanted to be able to go under and pull stuff out immediately. So actually that is a
Almost like a
glass
jewelry
top.
display.
100%. That is a glass top that they can go under and get, because they felt that if they displayed it in a glass top, it was visible, people could scan, and then if they wanted to pull stuff out, it was very easy to do. So again, this goes back to the way that you sell is a conversion tactic on the show floor, and it has to fold into, can't just give somebody a demo stand, right? There's a lot of ways of doing a demo stand, but as you can see just from these first couple examples, there's different needs, and people want to sell a certain way, and a certain way works for them. This was just one example of having product, not wanting to have stuff laid out everywhere on top of a table, and trying to get creative
It's an
and making sure
intentional
that it fits the
display.
brand. Yeah, very
Yep.
much so.
I love this one, E2 companies. This one is really great because they utilize so much of their branding throughout the
Love the
components,
flooring.
but you're
I
going
love the flooring here. I just
the
love it
and the path really is integral
with
to
the
this
arrows. Yeah.
entire concept. Yep. So
Yeah.
each of these are 3 different demo areas where they're having discussions. You're going to see that they have somebody stationed at each, and you start here and you walk your way through. And so you're really getting a chance to converse and have conversations with everyone. All the while, they have this really great coffee station set up as well.
And it's like a
But
workflow,
bright,
isn't it,
bold.
Cody, where they go from one to the next to the other, which is
Mhm.
where the arrows come in. The arrows fit in with their brand and the color. Yes. Zadia says it encourages movement. Yes, absolutely. And I think the flooring even married into that,
Yeah,
leveraging your floor and your space and hanging signs and structure to get people to move is definitely a real thing. And I love this piece here. And it does, if I do recall correctly, they were then getting people to come and get coffee, right? So it's a little, not a huge experience, but enough that their team understands we're getting them to go through these 3 phases, and then we're getting them a coffee, and then we have areas to go have conversations with them. That, to me, if that works for them, that is a bit of an experience. And I will say is I love the arrows with the flooring here carved into the wood flooring is absolutely a winner for me here, without a doubt.
absolutely. Now, this one I love. This goes back into you're not always needing a full, big, complicated booth structure. You can let your products talk. And so AVL did a great job of having a fully functional kind of square center space. They were on an island too, I think. So they were trying to really take advantage of all angles and really
Yeah.
were, gave tons of space for their product. You could literally walk in and know exactly what they sell and be able to have conversations right there.
And I think this goes
Whoop.
back to when you're having, when you're having conversations, you're thinking products. When you have a physical product to a degree, which is what we're getting into here, away from demo stands, is what is your product? I think the advantage of this product is, I mean, look at it, right? I mean, it doesn't, so there's not much of a trade show booth here,
Right.
but this product is I mean, how often do you walk up to and see a satellite?
I don't know if that's common in
Yeah.
the industry. So
Now, I'm sure their industry sees them
sure.
far more than maybe you or I do, Cody, but essentially having these things positioned all around the perimeter, different colors, different styles, different sizes really is the bit of the showstopper. I think it tells the story, and it's just a very simplified way of exhibiting.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. This one I knew you were a big fan of,
Yeah,
and I wanted to make sure we showed this one off.
I do. Yeah, I do like this booth with display data because we don't have another image of this, do we? But basically what we have is there's like one, two, three. You see these tall vertical towers, and there is like retail store type products on these shelves. Display data is doing the electronic shelf labels for these products, which then allows the companies that are selling them to track data and do all different kinds of stuff, run promotions. There's a million things they can do with it, right, on the backside. But it's showing people real time the simplicity of using the technology on the floor as it would be used. So they could have just hung this stuff with slat wall, but no, they built these sections that look like
Hmm.
retail consumer based style experiences. Not only that, they also underneath here, you can't see it in this image, it's a double decker. So there's meeting space up top, but underneath that, we built in a refrigerator that has their products, that has their shelf labels that go into the refrigerators as well. So it looked like a store that has a refrigerator built in. And this one I always thought was a little bit of a showstopper. It's just a beautiful booth. There's even in the middle here, we built this big custom, it's like a display for a grocery store, I would
Hmm.
say. So it's a really cool booth. But good use
I
of
love the pops of colors
utilizing,
too.
yeah, utilizing the product where they could take a scanner, scan it, go through the process. I always like this one.
And here we go. We've got Bragg. This is a really excellent showcase of just the product itself. Everyone knows Bragg, but when you walk in here, it really feels like you're going back into time into like a little farm stand and like you're at a store to pick up the items. And if you think about it, that's really their core branding itself, right? I love that this doesn't have to be a massive booth either to give a really good theme, a really good experience, and really showcase your products in an organized way.
So we got a question. What size is the booth for display data? Molly's on here. She could probably answer, but I think display data is a 40 by 40. I could be wrong, but I think it's roughly a 40 by 40. Might be a little bigger actually. But if Molly's still on here, she could probably
I'm almost
jump
certain
in.
it's a
She is.
45, 40, but we might be wrong.
Yeah. So the brag booth, what I would want people to pay close attention to, I know we're talking product here and product placement, and it's out and it's on shelves, and everything has this like barn, farm, family, old school style. Because again, Bragg's whole 30 by 40 for display data. Thank you, Molly. Their whole shtick is just this like organic apple cider vinegar, right? Like not processed, etc. And but what I love about this booth is look how many graphics are on this booth. There's one. That's it. So we talk all the time about not putting too many graphics on your booth, not over designing it with copy. Literally, the graphics of this booth is made to be looked like wood paneling. There's no graphic on the front reception counter. There's just a Bragg logo.
Yep.
And it
And
tells
an
the
area for
whole
storage.
Yep. And it tells the story, right? Which I
Hmm.
really love. So that's one thing I think that is sneaky good about this booth, as well as that the product is just full front displayed and the theme is done really well.
And again, the design, the little details are meticulous, right? Even the plants here, the
Mhm.
little apple trees
The strung
and
lights I love a lot.
yep,
And this picture is
the
actually
the
too close,
furniture.
but the strung lights run. There's a post on the front and post on the other corner, and it runs all throughout the booth. It's really pretty looking.
Okay, here we've got another one with Champion Pet Foods. This one again also really ties into a full theme, but what's really great about
Yes.
this is the product placement. You walk in and this whole overhead, like you walk in and you really feel like you're going into a massive grocery store.
Yeah.
There's so many details, so many different areas too that they utilized for conversations. You'll see there's like these little refrigerated areas as well.
I think a good thing to note here, Cody, on, Bragg's a 10 by 20, Champion Pet Foods, probably again in that 40 by 40, 50 by 50 range, right? Say, so two very different sized boots. But what I love about this is they're both displaying a product, but essentially the product is not overwhelming and it's also not hidden. And I think what that the reason why these came out so good is because you can't just display your product. These booths are themed. They're both themed directly into the brand, right? So Champion Pet Foods, their point of view, their value prop is essentially their ingredients, right? The ingredients that they use inside of their foods. So it really gives you this wholesome, organic kind of countryside feel to these products. And both the theme plus adding in the products on the shelves really gives you a good vibe when you're looking at the products versus just seeing them up on a shelf. And I think it makes all the difference. Obviously, the ceiling structure here and this entryway sets the tone for this entire booth, and it's a bit of a showstopper. Is very cool to give it that, but that's to give it the theme.
Very great. Okay, let's tie into the next section, which are meeting areas, which some of our clients that we work with solely are focused on booking meetings, having deeper conversations in areas to talk through things with new audience, existing contacts in the pipeline, or existing clients, right? Breaking down different unique ways to approach meeting areas. The Midwich group did an excellent job in taking a standard
I
square
love the
and
wood
kind of
posts
putting
here. I
everything on
love
an angle.
these.
Yeah, I know.
I love these things.
But utilizing every square foot of this space essentially for multiple meeting areas. So everything's put on a diagonal. You've got the bar tops. You've got some seating in the back with some comfortable chairs. You even have a reception area here and here. But what's also really cool is they had their own content studio hidden right in the middle of this. And so it's glassed in, so you could even be able to, watch in there kind of like you would in like a radio station or a podcast studio. But each component, every single corner is strategically mapped out to utilize the space for their
You know what I
conversations.
love? So first, what's sneaky good about this space is we have this, like, I call it like Star Wars, like beam lighting under the archways here. You can just see them.
Mhm.
We have other pictures from underneath here, but they're at a slight angle and they run under there. And when you're on the floor and you have ground lighting under the cabinetry, the welcome desk is backlit. The Midwich group curved reception area is underlit. So the lighting really ties this together. The wood beams catch your eyes. And then there is these multiple areas for meeting where they needed all these different sections, right? And I think that's something to understand here is when you go through the first part of the process that Coty and I have kind of walked everybody through the last 2, 3 shows that we've done, is sometimes it gets down to the nuts and the bolts of like, well, we have to run these demos or we have to run this meeting space. There's no grandiose experience where they get a token and they take it here. Like that stuff is 1 out of 10 where that gets created. Sometimes people have these functional needs where they're having these conversations and they need to have them in such setting in a certain way. And part of our job is to design it and give them an environment that fits their needs so they can, develop their pipeline and build their relationships. And I think this booth's a good example of that.
Absolutely. SNF, this is another one of my favorites because you can take a smaller space and not clutter it or make it too full of big booth elements. They really were able to implement some small curved walls, perfectly placed, to be able to have more quiet and designated areas for meetings. So it looks like there's one, two, three, and then they've got also the behind this front wall here too. And I just love the curves, right? Everybody always like, sometimes they're like, they want curved walls and they want a little bit more curved design. I think all of this really ties that up together nicely.
Yeah, I think the idea here, you don't always need private meeting space. You don't always need open meeting space, or sometimes you want like semi-private style things. This, I think, really accomplishes that in a certain number of way, leveraging some plants, leveraging some custom aspects where you can kind of divide up the space without really dividing up the space with rooms. Because the more rooms that you build, the more space it takes up, the more clutter it creates. And in smaller spaces, you have to get creative with building out these areas.
Also creative in the graphics. I think the messaging is very
Yeah,
clear
I
but
would agree.
minimalist.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I do love if you look at, you have this like scaled down custom piece with these angles in the back to create the conference room. And then you have them on the bottom of the hanging sign, and then you have them on the reception desk. And, again, it's not themed, but it has that tying piece to it.
Very functional. I love this one. And I'll tell you why. Not for anything but just the unique use of modern furniture, right? Rather than getting, your basic little cubes or your basic bar stools, they really took two incredibly modern, it's kind of, what is this material? It's like a fluffy material, right? I
Yeah.
love the conversation areas that you can have with the couches. What you're going to
Sherpa,
see back
Karen
at
said.
Sherpa, there you go.
I have a
Perfect.
Sherpa sweatshirt. It's very warm.
Very warm. Thanks,
Mhm.
Karen. But what you're going to see here is this back table, and it also has modern seating. What's unique about this is that table and chairs, and part of the setup was able to be modularly broken down into a 10 by 20 as well. So we took the same elements, broke it down into a smaller area, and that way you can expand it or you can make it smaller, all the while still showcasing their products and to
I
be
think
able to
one
encourage really good casual conversations.
I think one good point here, Cody, on this booth is sometimes you don't really have to overthink it, and just spending a little bit more money on some custom furniture versus the basic furniture that gets rolled into trade show booths is just enough to create an environment, right? The booth is well done. It has good graphics. It's a nice layout. It's clean. It fits the brand. It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice booth. And then you throw in some furniture that's elevated. I think it just elevates the experience. So it's a very simple tool to just say, hey, we could spend an extra grand or two on some decent furniture and elevate the experience. Very simple trick.
All right, we've got CNC cabinetry, and I thought that this was a really unique way to utilize meeting areas and meeting
Yeah.
spaces. As you go into this, it looks like a full-on kitchen and different types of kitchens all the way around. But everywhere you
Yeah.
see these stools, there's little areas to be able to have conversations. They also obviously have a double decker, so you can actually have meeting space up above as well.
What I like about this one is, this kind of fits the bill for a couple different things here. We put it in the meeting space because it really has different types of meeting space, right? So the way this was designed and laid out essentially is that you have sort of their product built in to these, I think it was about 6 or 7 different areas throughout, showing all different their product in use in different rooms in different ways. And, it's a great tour to take somebody on. It's like bringing the showroom here. Then what it did was you could have conversations while you're standing there, but there's a lot of people there. It was, busy. And so then we built this table which seats about 10 or 12. There's some samples in there, like actual physical samples built into the middle of the table. And that was just another place to go have a little bit more of a private conversation, more of a workspace conversation style discussion that they have with some designers and different people like that. But then also, they were like, well, we need to have some private discussions with people where we sign deals with them, right? So these are needs. We want to show, when you're talking to somebody, we want to showcase product. We want to look, touch, feel. We want to be able to sit down and have these design style workshop conversations. Oh, but by the way, we need to have more serious conversation where we can get contracts signed and have more private discussion. So how do you fit all that into a space? And that's what we did here that I really love about this booth. It's a really well designed booth.
It
Jeff at the
showcases
time
their
who created it
products
is
really
a
well.
great designer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when we entertain at our house, we almost always gather at the Highland and sit there and talk all night with our
Yeah,
friends. And so I
for
think
sure.
that that really brings in that same element to it. This one is PLT. I love this because it does do an excellent job in tying in lighting and graphics and showcasing their product out front, but they really have this deep need of good meeting space. And so behind these walls, you walk in and there's different quarters with different meeting areas. Some a little bit more open, some are closed in these really cool, like plexi walls here. And I think that there's multiple and they have TVs mounted. And so each one is really designed to have these deeper conversations and work with their distributors.
Yeah, I like this booth. I love, just I know we're talking meeting spaces and they have some really clever meeting spaces designed and built in here I love the plexiglass. I love anytime you can utilize smoked plex, clear plex, different milk plex, right? And I love that they have, the branding pieces on them. It just elevates everything to me. These always come out pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, we have multiple configurations of the PLT boost too. You can find
Yeah.
them in our gallery online. We've done all kinds of different variations for them across different events that they go to.
Hey, just a reminder for everybody as we're going through this, we're going to keep rolling through because we got a bunch more to show you. But if you have any questions, if you have anything that you're working on that you need help with, I mean, any type of question in and around this, just throw it in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and we'll get to it.
We can breeze through these, but the digital displays and lighting, I think, not everyone has a product that they want to showcase or need to have a demo station. And so you can get creative with other components to really draw the attention into your booth. Security Central is one of longstanding clients, and they wanted to try something different. And so we have these two huge LED walls where, had rotating video to kind of showcase what they do. And then they had this little meeting space in the air in the middle, and then these tablets here to collect information. I think this is also a really great use of lighting, right? So we have the lighting up across these little side walls and the hanging sign
Yeah, the hanging sign that's blue that says elevate your monitoring is backlit,
is lit
right?
up.
And then I
Mhm.
actually love the custom platform that has the kiosks on it. That's underlit as well, which, it's subtle and just ties everything all together for it.
Camlin was a really great, I mean, it does also have kind of like little sections to have conversations, not necessarily a demo area, but utilizing the TVs and the lighting on these units here on a
I love the
diagonal.
staggered nature of these. I think
Yeah.
it's unusual when you look at it. This is a good angle of it, but when you look at this booth from all different areas and angles, just having the different, like I was saying, like the different height columns, they're staggered across a rectangular space is it was a bit of an odd layout, but that worked really well. And then it has a lot of lighting on those staggered rectangles. It does.
Yep. And even on the corner pieces here,
Yeah.
with
So
the
it was
logo being
simple,
backlit.
but I
Mhm.
think it's a good example of how you can leverage lighting just to catch people's eye, right? And, you know, fortunately, when you're on the trade show floor, I think that is something that you have to be doing. You have to be trying to design to be eye catching. You have to design so that people want to come over, so that's inviting, so that it's different. It does work. And I think it's the difference between a person that like might want to come over and doesn't, right? And if they do or they don't.
Tech Synap is another one of my favorites
Oh,
in terms of use of
Scott would love
lighting.
this. Scott would love Scott.
This one is great because, every component here is lit up on the edges, but they really did utilize digital displays as a creative way, right? You have them on the side here and right here, and different spaces to have conversations, but just the bright blue lighting absolutely draws your eye in. And their message is very simple. It's smart hospital Wi-Fi. So not sure how much you can really demo, right? And you don't need much demo areas, but they do need to catch the attention. And I thought that this was very on brand with the curved edges and the lighting.
Yeah, the curved edges were a little bit of a challenge of getting the lighting. It had to be custom built and designed out. I make it sound super simple. Scott had to figure that out.
Scott probably lost many
A
hours of
little bit
sleep
of,
on that
yeah, a
one.
little bit of a push from Molly, but yeah, I mean, it was a really cool design. It really fits the brand, right? Smart hospital Wi-Fi. It needed to feel techie. It needed to feel, how would I describe it? It is a techie feel,
I
but
think
it's,
it's
it's, um,
techie. Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's the way to describe it. But like smart hub style, futuristic kind of feel. And
Mm.
I just love the lighting that flows with the curves, and it's everywhere in this booth. So this angle doesn't show everything, but it is in every angle and every edge of this booth. It flows. So no matter which area you're looking at it from, that lighting catches your eye. And it just, the entire booth had a glow, had a blue glow. It was beautiful. It really was.
Okay, now we get to get into some fun themes.
We
So
got
we
a
have,
we got a question, Cody. Hold on one
oh,
second. Are any of the displays of the Tech Snap booth touchscreen? I don't know. That
I'm not
I'm
sure if
not
they were
involved in that
touchscreen, but
area. I don't know.
putting touchscreens in is totally doable.
Yeah, that's cake. Yeah. I mean, that would
Yeah.
be the same thing, but those vertical screens, I don't know. Molly might be able to better answer what was going on those screens.
I love this booth. So when we're talking
Yes.
about themes, you can have a small but mighty and really, just something that completely
Molly
stands
said the
out.
center TV was touchscreen, Cody,
Oh, okay, great.
on the
Thanks,
Texan app
Molly.
booth. Yep.
The 3P Learning booth just had such a great use of graphics.
It's
This is
cute.
where graphics make sense. It's so cute, and the
Yeah.
green carpet, the
Yeah.
bright green carpet, just like grass. You
Zadia
know
just said it's
exactly what
super
they do.
cute. Yeah, it is a cute
It
booth.
really is. We have a
Yeah.
couple other cutie booths, and I think this one definitely is
It just
part of that.
screams
But
like children learning, development, fun, playful, right? It screams like, I don't know. I geek out over the theming stuff. To a fault, honestly, I love it. If we are ever exhibiting, we're going to be themed. I mean, I tell you that right now. I love it. I love coming up with a theme. I think it sparks conversation. I think it tells the story. I think it stands out. Like, this doesn't look corporate to me. It has no corporate feel at all. When you look at it, even if you have no idea what they do, let's just say you have no idea what they do. You have a rough general idea in and around what they do, right? Like you can start to
yep,
draw
their
some
audience.
conclusions. And I love it. It's fun, it's playful. I love it. It's just one of my favorite things.
Well, it's a perfect segue when you're talking about if we ever do a booth, we like to have themes because the next one on our list is
Us,
actually the Rockway booth. How
Rockway, look at us.
Hotel Rockway. This one, I'd love for you to talk about it because it was your original idea.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
Oh. Jeff
but the
really, I'll tell you
concept,
what, Jeff really brought this to life. That when he first showed me his design, and I will say the final product is not very far from what he designed. I mean, Jeff freaking nailed it. And like kudos to Jeff. He is a exceptional creative. But yeah, I mean, the idea here was part of our discussions with people. And as we were talking with companies was we wanted the theme of our booth to be Hotel Rockway. That was our
because you
idea.
can rest easy with Rockway,
Rest
right?
easy at
So,
Rockway. It was a boutique hotel. So we wanted to be this boutique hotel experience. As we dove into that, hotels that are boutique, they're intentional, they're well designed. We feel like we do design very well. We're intentional. And rest easy at Rockway, right? So
yeah,
this was just done exceptionally well in my eyes. I loved it. I mean, even just from the detail of the flooring, like that marble style in the corner,
like you're
we
walking into a
tried
hotel lobby. Yeah.
and we didn't have a big space. We had a 10 by 30 space. And part of the concept was how do we make the space feel bigger than it is? And I think the graphic that's backlit, that it's like an 8 by 16 foot graphic it has depth to it. Looks like you're walking into a hotel or a lobby or something.
This
Yeah, it's
storage
just
here, too, by the way, is actually like a hotel door, and
it
there's
has a
like a
door
little
with
thing that
a
hangs on there.
yeah, it's themed. Yep,
Now, the other
for
part
sure.
of this was, and this had been nominated, I think, for some awards too when we
We got
were at
nominated for
Exhibitor Live.
two. We got nominated for best new exhibitor and best small booth.
Yep. So the other part here is actually where we had our live podcast. This was back in the day when we just started Event Marketing Redefined. So it's pretty cool to go back and see that photo. Okay. Another really great theme is Security Central again. I mean, I have to say they are some amazing clients to work with because they really let us come up with some great ideas. Wait until you see what we're doing this year for them. But the main theme for Security Central this year at this show was protect what you value. And when you think of what you value, you imagine your home or your business and everything inside of it. So, us taking that and turning this into an actual roof line with these little areas that look like windows, but on the backside end up being, conversation or demo areas. It was a really unique way to integrate their brand and what they're trying to showcase into a theme.
That was one of the first booths that we did for them. I remember the sketch that started the whole idea. And what I loved about this was I love the roof. Don't get me wrong. It gives the visual of the house. But what I thought one of the clever things was utilizing these kiosks posted around. They were double usage, right? They were a kiosk on the inside, but on the outside, we made it the illusion. It was a backlit graphic with that looked like window framing. And then that
Yep.
graphic looked like you were looking into a home or a business. It was one of my favorite pieces. It really, like this side looks more like a business, but the other side that you can't see, it was like a family sitting down to dinner. And I think it really just told the story. Again, I love themes.
And a little welcome mat at the door. It was
Yeah,
really
the welcome mat's a nice touch. Yeah.
So when we get into themes, we always talk about this one and the one after this, or, when we talk about some of the cutest small booths, this is absolutely one of them that we voted as probably one of the winners. But iSpot TV really made this. It's almost like you walk into a like little TV set, right? A little TV studio where you could sit down, all of this greenery. You walk in, have really comfortable conversations to be able to just be. I mean, when you're walking by and you see this compared to just a basic table and reception area, I mean, this is just a real or reception counter. This is just really unique in a different way to display your brand. And when we go into our other favorite cute small booth would definitely be the Kinsella Family Farms. I mean, a small booth utilizing really good graphics again to showcase their product and to really, when you walk in, you feel like you're walking into another farm stand. I think the floor made the biggest impact there too, bringing up a whole bunch of color and drawing you in. And another theme booth, we've talked about this one in actually our last show, but the Post-it Extreme Notes, again, very
I
themed
mean, the
to
booth
the
has
product that they sell.
scaffolding. The booth has real
Literally.
scaffolding on the outside of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
talk
awesome.
about, we're really trying to connect with the audience there. Having
I
all of these
loved it.
different areas, the kitchen, the walk, or the brick, you can walk through all of these doors like you're walking into a construction area, and you can really touch and feel and experience the different extreme sticky notes. Very cool. Okay, our last one here is engagement. So designs to focus on engagement. We have quite a few
Cody, can I drop one
to
thing in
cover.
real quick? Sorry,
Absolutely.
it's just on my mind as we're going through this. I think one thing that's really important for everybody to understand or to think about if you are going into, whether you're on this call and you're a designer yourself, because I see some people that I know are designers here, and then I see a lot of people that are event marketers, right? That have to have booths designed and they have to activate with them for their company. I think one thing that I think is super important for everybody to know, graphics play a huge role. 2D design is as important as 3D design, in my opinion. I think too often people get very focused on 3D design, this great architectural design, but I think at the end of the day, sometimes it's not as important as marrying the two together, right? Marrying,
Yep.
you could take really boring you could take really good 3D design, put average graphics on it, and the booth kind of sucks, right?
Yeah.
You could take a bad 3D design or a boring 3D design and put really good 2D graphics on it, and it can be great. So I think it's about marrying and meeting in the middle. And to me, I hate going back to it because I sound like a broken record, but I think that's where having a theme or having a thread to pull on, something that's important, something that you're trying to convey, something that's your message or the tone of what you want. And if you don't have that and you're just designing a trade show booth, then I wholeheartedly feel like you're then just trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Right. So have that thread, have that theme, have that story. Doesn't mean it needs to be themed out to the max. It's a North Star for when you're designing for the 2D and 3D. Sorry. Good.
Oh, that's great. It's a good segue
No.
into engagement. So we've talked about Insight before, and I actually have a couple examples for Insight, but this one is a smaller booth, and really, truly, the structure of it is simple, right? Three cabinets, this back wall with the TV and the speakers, and then these really cool little like plexiglass walls. But here's the thing, when I first saw the Insight logo, I thought immediately like Legos or like puzzle pieces.
A game.
And the thing,
Yeah.
yes, a game. And so this booth was at a show where I think it was a lot of engineers and like Lego lovers. So it really kind of fit into where they had like little Lego giveaways, custom Lego like little kits. So at each of these, we use Captello and Lance. If you're on the call, you can definitely chime in on this because you helped put this whole thing together. We gamified it. So there are these tablets where you could sit there and digitally put together like this little puzzle. You put in your information and then that then is collected, but you're able to have conversations and engage with them. And it really ties in the whole brand itself to a theme and to an actual engagement piece without it being a very complicated structure.
I even like the language there.
Build
Build
anything,
anything,
secure
secure
everything.
everything, miss nothing. It has a bit of a game type feel. Anyway,
Yeah.
good.
Another one of Insight, we talked about this in our last call, but this is just another angle of the same booth, but really highlighting this engagement with the trees. So they were really focused on where they were going to be. They're a really great partner with Microsoft and Microsoft, the show itself, Ignite, was focused on sustainability. So they took that, pulled that thread, and turned it into how do we drive engagement through sustainability? Well, every time that you had a meaningful interaction, there were these little tablets mounted on the wall. You put your information in, you have a really great conversation with insight. A leaf gets added to the tree, a tree actually gets planted. So they donate a tree to get planted for every one of those leaves. It was really great.
I thought that was
So
really
two
key
different
engagement.
small
Loved it.
and large different ideas for engagement with one brand.
Watching that tree grow, I think, was a big thing for people on the show floor that was happening. This only shows one tree, but there was multiple video walls all throughout this where you could see that tree growing, which was really cool.
That is continuing in some of their other smaller events
Yeah.
too that I hear. So they're
Well, it's a
taking
big
that tree.
initiative,
Right.
right?
They're
I mean,
taking that tree
it's
now and putting it in their smaller 10 by 10s or any of their travel events that they're doing. I just love seeing one idea turning into something that they can apply to multiple shows. Azalea, we have worked with, they are just, I mean, we are constantly doing some amazing themes and they're great to work with. And we showcased actually last show a really cool booth around being taboo, and they had the temporary tattoos. And this one is another really great one. The theme was knock out common beauty threats. And so it was very themed around superheroes, this pop art, and you had different stations. And then you could be your own superhero, right? By standing here and, getting your cool, what do you call these? They take the image and it's like a video of you
like
all the
a
way around.
360 selfie station.
Yeah, there you go. So there we go. That was the word. I
It
loved
spins
this, but it
around.
definitely caught your eye. They have these like roped off areas right around there too. It was just a really cool experience.
Wasn't there something that we were like converting people in? It was a discussion about converting people into their own superhero.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Molly will know the details on that one. Ripley's, believe it or not, I mean, Karen has built such a great relationship with them over the years, and we've had an opportunity to really work with them on so many different projects, but this is definitely one
Yeah.
of the favorites because when you walk in, it feels like you're in a Ripley's. So not only do they have this car here that you can touch and feel and interact with, but over here they had some displays like museum displays, and they also had the world's tallest man sitting on a chair over here. They have all kinds of different interactive components. So when you walk in, you know that it's Ripley's, right?
You know,
It's
what was my
themed,
favorite
it's
part about
very
this
on
was
brand.
the books. I mean, those are just, they look like two massive books up there, right? I love that. And I love the column. I think the column was foam that we did. It's just a foam column on the left holding up the book. But this booth was just chaos. I mean, it was absolute chaos, but it was so engaging because it had all the, but that's what the Guinness, you know,
That's what they are,
that's what
right?
Ripley's is, right? Like
Mhm.
Ripley's is chaos. When you go inside those museums, it's all over the place. It's wacky. It's so the booth had to be the same. So there was just so much happening and there was so much different engagement. And what I would stress people into this was, and we've had this a couple times with other clients where lean into who you are. So I remember back in the day, we had a client that had this unique style of a brand and they were like they were kind of pushing into going into more corporate. They didn't want to be, but I'm like, no, lean all the way into your brand, lean.
Yeah,
And I love
go
that
for
Ripley's
it.
does that. Yes, go for it. It
Yep.
stands out. It's different.
All right, so we have a couple more. I know we're coming up on time, so we'll kind of try to breeze through them here. Oh, I think this might actually be the last one, so we might be just on time. But this
Cool.
one, another
We
one,
nailed it.
Molly, feel free to chime in on this one. But Azalea was able to really encourage all senses, right? So the pushing of the buttons, and then you can actually put on these really cool, the silent DJ headphones, and you can play music on them. So there's different musics playing, and then you could actually go in here and feel the different prototypes. So it was really engaging all of the different senses, but it isn't a massive or a very large booth. It looks like a 10 by 30, right? So very
This one
in
was a
line,
little
very,
This one's a little complicated to explain, but basically, they did have a DJ in the booth, right? It was this idea of a mixing station because
mhm,
obviously, with their prototypes, their
the mixing
compounds,
chemicals. Mhm.
mixing chemicals, right? And all that tied together with the silent disco, with the music, with the type of compound, how it gets mixed together. And then there was these columns with the circles, they lit up while you were listening. It was very cool. It was a little more complex of a scenario to go through, but it was very cool.
I think that's it. Yep. So
Beautiful. Nice job.
amazing, amazing
Yeah,
designs. I
good
mean, we
rundown
have
there.
so
Yep.
many, those are actual real life designs and booths that we've done, and we have hundreds more. thousands of concepts too. So you can always go to our website, rockwayexhibits.com/gallery to see more. If you have a specific need and you just need some inspiration, absolutely email me, and our team can show you some more ideas that more about, that are more in line with your functionality and what you need. So
I
very
think
fun to be able to showcase those.
two things I want to close with before we lose people. One is I think a lot of those designs, just so everybody understands, we ran you through our blueprint in multiple episodes prior. We have frameworks and documents on them, kind of how we get to that. I think those designs, they're all a product of our process, our creative team, working with our customers who, are open-minded and wanting to kind of, do things differently or just make sure that they are exposing themselves the right way on the trade show floor. Second thing is we did a show, what was it, a week or 2 weeks ago, Cody, right, with Doug, where we did it was a pre-post show engagement, and we're going to do another one. We're bringing Doug back because we had like 50, 60 people on there, and we didn't even get to half the stuff. So if you want to just explain that when it is and what we're doing, I think that'd be great
Yep.
for
So
everyone to know.
on March, let me confirm the
26th.
date, 26, we are doing a part two of really everything in terms of post-show engagement, right? Or pre-show and post-show engagement. We covered pre-show last time. Part two is really
Yep.
the post-show engagement and how you can utilize AI with real life examples. Again, he'll dive into even more demos of how to utilize ChatGPT to your advantage to really drive better conversions. So very excited to have you guys in a couple of weeks live for that show. And that's about it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. Cody, great
everyone.
job. Everybody, thanks for showing up. Hopefully we see you. I think our next show is that 26th. So we'll see you then, hopefully.